Jesus said any kingdom divided against itself will be ruined. He was not describing flags or borders. He was describing people sharing space without shared meaning. Street protests reveal this pressure clearly. Large crowds form, but connection thins. Movement replaces dialogue. Bodies gather, but understanding withdraws. Isaiah warned that when truth is nowhere to be found, restraint collapses. In moments like this, the street becomes a signal. Noise fills the air while meaning drains away. People hold signs instead of conversations. Silence becomes interpreted as threat. Stepping back looks suspicious. Standing still feels unsafe. The crowd does not ask what is true. It asks who is aligned. This pressure does not feel dangerous yet. It feels justified. It feels necessary. It feels like presence replacing absence. This pattern has appeared whenever societies fracture under strain. Public gatherings have always mirrored internal collapse before institutions respond. Jesus observed this without naming places or events. A divided kingdom fails by misalignment, not invasion. People stop agreeing on what they are seeing. They begin agreeing on who they oppose. Isaiah described the same sequence earlier. Truth retreats first, restraint leaves soon after. History shows crowds forming around certainty when understanding becomes unstable. Streets fill when private confusion reaches capacity. People gather to regulate anxiety through numbers. Being surrounded feels safer than being unsure. Over time, posture replaces principle. Shared language narrows. Slogans replace thought. Complexity signals weakness. Questioning feels unsafe. Isaiah noted that avoiding evil becomes dangerous in these moments. That is not condemnation, it is pattern recognition. When truth vanishes, neutrality looks like opposition. When restraint collapses, silence feels hostile. The street does not create this condition, it reveals it. Jesus framed collapse as mechanical. A divided kingdom fails regardless of who believes they are right. Isaiah framed collapse as perceptual. Truth disappears before restraint breaks down. That sequence explains why public unrest feels righteous while becoming unstable. When truth fragments, people cannot calibrate behavior. They rely on volume instead. They rely on visibility. Public space amplifies conviction, but strips context. Individuals borrow certainty from the crowd to escape internal doubt. Isaiah warned that avoiding evil becomes dangerous once restraint loses authority. In that condition, moderation feels like weakness. Listening feels like betrayal. Silence feels like alignment with the wrong side. Jesus warned that division like this requires no enemy. It consumes itself. Scripture does not dramatize this moment, it documents it. Action accelerates while understanding contracts. Moral language multiplies while shared reality dissolves. The crowd feels alive because movement masks confusion. Once truth withdraws and restraint weakens, the psychological shift becomes unavoidable. People stop regulating themselves internally. Regulation moves outward into the crowd. Behavior is corrected through pressure instead of reflection. Jesus warned that division destroys from within. This is how that destruction feels. Anxiety rises while confidence hardens. Individuals look certain but feel unstable. They rely on group reaction to decide what is acceptable. Approval replaces conscience. Rejection replaces correction. Isaiah warned that those who avoid evil become prey. That moment arrives when restraint no longer protects restraint. Hesitation becomes exposure. Listening becomes suspicion. Silence invites projection. Withdrawal looks like guilt. The crowd begins enforcing emotional alignment rather than shared understanding. Agreement matters less than posture. Chanting synchronizes emotion. Repetition dulls doubt. Psychological withdrawal accelerates even while people remain physically present. Individuals stop thinking privately. They begin thinking collectively. This feels stabilizing at first. It reduces uncertainty. It provides belonging. But it removes internal breaks. As the pattern continues, escalation no longer feels like a choice. It feels like momentum. People respond faster than they reflect. Jesus warned that division ruins systems from the inside. This is where that ruin accelerates. Emotional energy outruns understanding. Action feels urgent even when purpose remains vague. Isaiah warned that truth disappears before restraint collapses. By now, restraint is treated as interference. It slows the signal. It complicates alignment. The crowd rewards visibility over accuracy. Being seen feels safer than being right. Public space turns behavior into performance. People learn what earns approval and what invites scrutiny. Silence feels risky, nuance feels dangerous, individuals exaggerate certainty to avoid being questioned. Each reaction demands a stronger response. Each response normalizes the next. Correction feels like attack. Doubt feels like betrayal. People do not escalate because they want chaos. They escalate because slowing down feels unsafe. Exhaustion grows alongside intensity. Escalation sustains itself because stopping no longer feels survivable. At this stage, the pattern becomes difficult to reverse. Division settles into habit. People no longer remember when shared reality felt normal. Jesus warned that a divided kingdom will be ruined. He did not say it would feel wrong at first. By now, the system feels consistent, predictable. Roles are clear, pressure tells people how to behave. Isaiah warned that truth disappears before restraint collapses. Now, restraint is not missing, it is inverted. It protects intensity instead of moderation. The crowd enforces emotion as law. Moral language sharpens while meaning thins. People speak confidently, but listen rarely. Momentum demands continuation. Stopping would require reflection. Reflection would require shared truth. That no longer exists. Individuals feel trapped inside collective motion. Withdrawal feels dangerous. Silence feels accusatory. Jesus warned this structure consumes itself, not through explosion, through erosion. Trust erodes, perception erodes, internal correction erodes. The system survives on reaction alone. That survival feels like strength, it feels like conviction, but it is fragile. Any disruption creates panic. Any challenge feels existential. Isaiah observed that avoiding evil becomes predatory terrain. That warning lands here. When restraint is inverted, even caution becomes threat. The system can no longer distinguish harm from hesitation. It only distinguishes alignment from risk. Jesus said a divided kingdom will be ruined. He did not describe the moment it realizes that truth. Isaiah said truth is nowhere to be found and restraint has failed. This is where those warnings converge. The street no longer reflects tension, it reflects inevitability. People continue moving because stopping would force recognition. Recognition would require admitting something was lost. Shared reality is already gone. What remains is motion without agreement, identity without understanding, pressure without direction. The system cannot return to correction because correction requires trust. Trust requires truth. Isaiah warned that those who shun evil become prey. That warning no longer sounds abstract. It sounds procedural. Avoidance attracts attention. Calm signals risk. Jesus warned the structure collapses from within, not suddenly, quietly. People do not notice the collapse when it begins. They notice it when nothing responds anymore, when shouting produces no change, when action produces only reaction, when the crowd realizes it cannot slow itself. The Bible recorded this pattern long before streets filled with bodies. It recorded what happens when division feels righteous and truth disappears. The question is not how it ends. The question is when people realize it already started.